All right, how's everybody doing? I wanted to uh, put together something here. I've been asked a couple questions here by a few people, and just wanted to take uh, some time here to go through the Hawaii Half Marathon that I ran, and the mainly the training plan that I went through to get there. I've had a few people ask me about that. Um, so I guess to start off with, the reason I wanted to do a half marathon, initially it was just for health and fitness reasons, and then it became something of, well, I wanted to do something that I thought was impossible for me to do, and I wanted to. It was a goal set back in January for me. I typically don't do New Year's resolutions. This is the first one I've ever done in my life, but the timing of it just worked out. It wasn't. I didn't intend on it being a New Year's resolution, but I was going to start this around January anyway. So I figured, well, all right, let's do the New Year's resolution thing. But I didn't want to be one of those statistics where it's, you set a resolution and then you quit in February or March and never make it through. So I wasn't going to be that guy. I wasn't going to do that. If I'm going to do a New Year's resolution, I'm going to stick to it and make it happen. So last year I did train to run a 5K, to run 3 miles. And then I took a break from running for several months. It got to winter time and it was pretty cold, so I didn't run for a little while. So back in January, I barely, I could run a mile, but it was tough. I probably couldn't have done the 3 miles. I don't know. I didn't. I worked myself back up to it. So how I went from going from barely able to run a mile to running a half marathon, which is 13 miles, in 9 months. So that's kind of what I was going to talk about here. There's a lot of training plans out there that I'm sure will be fine. You can go online and find a whole bunch of them. That's kind of what I did as well. And I took bits and pieces from a lot of different ones that I thought were pretty consistent across the board. So, and so yeah, again, any program you do will probably do just fine. Most of them say you can do it in it's like a 4 to 6 month plan. You need 4 to 6 months to train yourself to run a half marathon. Yeah, you probably could. I chose to do 9 months just because that happened to be the half marathon that I wanted to do was 9 months out. So yeah, it just worked out that way. So the training plan that I went through is basically, well, actually, so there's a few important factors that you want to make sure you have that I learned along the way in your plan. So first thing is, write it down. That a lot of coaches say that, but man, that really is important. It's a visual representation. Of the contract that you're making with yourself, and it just keeps you hold yourself accountable. For me, I actually printed out the workout that I signed off on every week since January. I signed off on when I completed it. So I would say write it down. Write down what your goal is. Another important aspect, especially for running, you're gonna want to do strength training. My opinion, I don't think that's optional. And if you try to do it without strength training, you're likely gonna have a lot of significant injuries and a lot of setbacks along the way. You need to build up, all the muscles in your legs, so that your joints aren't taking the brunt of each hit of every step you take. You want your muscles kind of being the shock absorbers and giving your joints a break. So I think strength training is extremely important. Some people online say it's recommended, but it's not a must. I think it is a must. So the other thing that a lot of training programs are saying is you only want to do one long run a month, one long run a week. And I think that worked out really well for me. So basically I ran 5 days a week. I also worked out 5 days a week. So I did strength training 5 days a week and ran 5 days a week. I tried to put my lighter strength training days on the days when I would run more. A lot of programs will say, you want to lift on the days you're not running. Well, if I'm running 5 days a week, that doesn't leave a whole lot of time for strength training then. But anyway, so where was that here? Yeah, so I ran 5 days a week. I had 2 light runs every week, 2 medium runs, and then a long run on Sundays. And it just kept increasing throughout the year as I built up the stamina for it. So I'll actually show you what my training plan is here. So over to the left is, I think I got it in there. So I have all the workouts over to the left: the squats, bench press, lunges, all that. So Mondays and Thursdays, gotta do the deadlifts, seated lunges, then a light run. Tuesdays and Fridays I would do squats, bench press, flies and calf raises, and then a medium run. And then Sundays would be my long run day, so I would do like some lighter stuff like hamstring curls, quad curls. I guess that would be quad extensions, and then pull-ups on those days. And I did pull-ups on 2 of the other days as well. I guess I just didn't write it in there, but anyways, so that would be the strength training that I did. So, and then over here to the right, let's see if I can get that in there. So yeah, this was started back in January. The first week I only did 3 miles total. I just did 3 runs of 1 mile each. And then second week I did 3 runs of 2 miles each. And the third week I did the 3 runs of 3 miles. And over here's the total miles I ran for that week. And then here's where I signed off every week that I did it. So, and then here And I just had the 1 mile runs were my medium runs, and then the 3 miles. No, that's not how I did it. Must have been the 3 miles were the medium runs, so 3, 6, and then I see what I did. So I did 2 medium runs at 3 miles, 2 light runs at 1, and then I guess I made the long run a 3 mile run as well. So that added up to 11. And then finally here I get this is where I started adding more. So 2 3 mile runs, 2 1 mile runs, and the 1 long run for 4. Got me 12 miles, and so on and so forth. Oh, break weeks are big. You gotta have break weeks. I take a full week off. I don't run, I don't lift, I don't do anything. And then, yeah, you can see it just increases along the way. The flying pig week, that was kind of my middle of training. And then after that run, I took a break as well. And yeah, so all the way down, I marked some stuff off here mainly because I had to put in an extra break week in there, so I just shifted the rest of everything down one. So it looks kind of messy, but really all I did was just shift each week down a week. So I ended up getting 515 miles total because I took that 1 week out. But the other important factor is the taper down weeks are huge. So I literally just would run 3 days that week, not lifting. That was going into race week, so I just ran a 3 mile run, then a 2 mile, and a 1 mile run the day before the race. That same thing down here for Hawaii. I just did a 5 mile, a 3 mile, and then a 1 mile run right before the day before. So yeah, and now I can finally mark this off here. So I don't even know what today's date is. Was it the 4th or the 5th? 31st was a Sunday, so today's got to be the 7th. Alright, yeah, so. Alright, so 9/7/25, and we'll sign off on this. Done. Completed. Alright. So that felt good. That felt really good. Yeah, so things that I learned as well through all this was it's about consistency and just doing a whole bunch of little things over and over again that add up to one really big thing. A lot of people pucker out, but you just got to keep doing it. If you've got the time is the biggest thing. If you have the time, then you can do it. And I wanted to just kind of show. This was something that I thought was impossible for me. I never would have thought I could run 13 miles. That was never on my radar prior to last year. So that was kind of motivating. But in order to do something like that, you got to go through a little bit of pain and suffering to make it happen. And you just got to stay consistent with it. You're gonna have aches and pains along the way. Yeah, everybody does. So yeah, just stick with it. You'll be good. Um, even when it's just you running, I can't tell you how many runs where I'm the only one out there running. Sunday evenings, I usually go downtown and run along the river, and a lot of times it's just you out there running. There's no prize or anything at the end. It's just stick to your plan and keep taking the next step. The other thing is that I've learned is that running is more of it's a battle with yourself. I mean, you hear this from runners all the time. Every time you run, you're gonna have moments where you're telling yourself, "Why are you doing this? You should quit now. This hurts so much. You quit now, it'll feel so much better. You can make it up another day." You're your own worst enemy, your own worst critic. When you're running, you just keep putting one foot in front of the other. I don't know. That's even the Hawaii race, the Flying Pig race. Like, there are moments where you want to quit, and usually everybody else does quit in those moments. But if you put a lot of time and effort into something, and you're motivated to make it happen, then you just bite your lip and get through the pain and just keep running, keep moving your legs, and so specifically about the Hawaii race. So I'm gonna actually, before I get into that, so what's next for me? Do I want to do a full marathon? I don't have any thoughts of that at the moment. Maybe a few years down the road, maybe, but right now I was happy with the half. So, but the next thing for me is I'm going to try to run a half marathon in all 50 states. Obviously, that's a lot of time and a lot of money, but we'll give it a go here. So once along the way, I'm going to rate each race. Just to, if you're thinking about running, you want to do one outside of the state that you're in, I'll try to go to as many states as I can to run one and see. I'm trying to pick the top ones in each state, the top rated ones. And this one in Hawaii was one of the top ones. So that's why I chose that one. And so yeah, the factors that I'm going to use, it's just my own personal ranking. It's not any influence from outside or nothing, but basically the factors that I'm going to use are my overall experience there, how much the race represents the state that it's in. Scenery is a big deal for me. I think a lot of people love, they just do the runs for the scenery. And the crowd participation is another thing, which the crowd participation, that is very motivating. That can get you through some of those moments when you want to quit. So yeah, keep bringing the crowd out. So for Hawaii, that race, obviously it's beautiful out there. So we started, it starts out, oh, another thing that's important, when you run these races, it's good to know the race and study the race as best you can. Most of the websites will have the elevation gains, and they'll tell you where you're running, and if you're lucky, they'll even tell you the elevation gains at certain mile markers, so you know where the hills are at. I would highly recommend knowing the race as best you can before you go run it, so you know what to anticipate. So for the Hawaii race, it was, you start out, you run along the coast on Poipu Beach for like a half mile, and then you make a left turn and you start going up and up as you go more inland. It starts, the first 2-3 miles are kind of a slow uphill incline. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was. But once you get to, I think, mile 4 is a pretty rough, brutal hill. And that's where a lot of runners started walking. So again, that's one where you just, I didn't even train with any hills. So I was surprised that I handled those okay, but yeah, mile 4, brutal hill, and that wasn't even the worst of it, because at mile 5.5, that's the make or break point in the race. Just a steep uphill incline, windy roads. I mean, that was tough. Once you get through that, then you get to the tree tunnel, or the tunnel of trees, they call it, I guess, which is still a little bit of a slight uphill grade, so you're still kind of running uphill even after you finish the big steep incline. And then after you get through the tree tunnel, that's about the halfway mark. And then it's mostly downhill the rest of the way. And I think at that point, I was a little worried about how I would do once I finished that hill. But once it flattened out for me, it was almost like, you know, I feel just like I did when I'm training. Now I'm back on kind of the flat surfaces now, and or the flat grade of the ground. And yeah, it felt just like training again. And I think once I got to mile 9, I knew I was going to be able to finish. I was like, okay, I don't know what my time is going to be, but I know I'm going to finish this race. There's 2 extra hills at like mile 11 and 12 that I did not know about, and at that point is where you start having that internal battle with yourself. Yeah, it gets a little frustrating, but again, you just keep going, just keep moving your legs. You're almost there. You're not quitting now, right? So I honestly thought that my time was going to be like 2 hours and 45 minutes, maybe even closer to 3 hours. And once I turned and got on the road for the finish line, which was like right along the coast again at Poipu Beach, I saw my time and it was like 2:20, and I was shocked. I was like, wow. I was not expecting that. So yeah, my time was 2:20, 2 hours, 20 minutes and 21 seconds. So, which was 10 minutes faster than my training time. So yeah, I was shocked. All the training that I did really well. And like I said, the taper down weeks are big. A lot of programs say if you're training for a half, you don't even run a half marathon in your training. It might work. I never know. I wanted to run 13 miles prior to the race just to make sure. I wanted that confidence to know that I could at least do that. At least do it one time. So, and yeah, the taper down weeks where your legs get to rest. I don't know if I would have made those hills without that rest. So, yeah. So, as here, this will be how I rank these things here. So it's the only one I've ran so far, so it's automatically going to get a 1 for now. And then, yeah, so we'll see how far. I have no idea how long it'll. I have a plan for the 50 states, but it's going to take 5 to 10 years. I mean, if I did it in 5 years, that's 10 races a year. I don't know if I could pull that off. I mean, I can do the races, but that's a lot of money, though. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I have 2 more races this year. The next one is in Chicago, September 28th. So,